right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. I do that every time it's morning. I know it's not morning where all of you are listening or watching, even live, let alone in syndication. But that's just a knee-jerk reaction. I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. With me pretty much as always, in fact, probably more often than I am these days, is our marketing director, Jen Waybor. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, Adam.
See, now I know it's morning where you are.
I think so.
All right. And we have a guest. We might have a video and audio guest for you guys today. We'll see how this goes. We have technical issues, but this is the way that it works when we do live shit. So that's the story thus far. Do we have a special guest, Catherine Burgess?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Yay! Cool.
We got audio.
All right. For those of you that are just catching up, we were fighting with Catherine's audio prior to going live, so we all feel that this is a major success that she can hear us and we can hear her. Yeah, it's win-win. Well, Catherine, I'm not going to pull any punches because our audience pretty much knows the MO that our guests have been waiting for a long time to be on the podcast. We probably booked this with you a year ago or more. That leading up to that point, we had done a bunch of research and vetting as to who you are and what you do, and if we wanted you to be a guest on the show. So for our audience's sake and for yours, know that, yes, everybody, this is somebody we've been watching for some time. We know that Catherine does some good business, has been for a while, and we kind of want to pick her brain and see what makes her business tick. And Catherine, we do want to hear about some other things just because I'm curious. Jen and I had chatted. You've got a big volunteer project regarding food insecurity. So we certainly want to hear about that as well. Mm-hmm. But give us some background. How did you get into real estate? Where did you come from? I think I saw somewhere along your history you lived in St. Louis. You're actually from Illinois?
Yep. So I grew up outside of Chicago and just 10 miles outside. But we've spent our adult lives in largely in California. We were in the Bay Area for 8 years, and then we went to Maine. So that was a good culture shock. And
that's
then,
where Jen is from,
down
so
to
she knows.
San Diego County.
Yep.
And then 5 years in St. Louis.
Very cool.
And it was when our 8-year-old said, we did, a lot of different things. It was my husband's career he was an executive in the outdoor industry. And I was involved with a bunch of different things, but on the side, we kept investing in real estate, and we had tons of flips that in each location we had 2 or 3 places. And so we flipped and we built and we did all of the work ourselves for the most part. And so we were serious real estate investors. And then when our 8-year-old said to us, I've lived in 8 houses, and we looked at each other and we thought, can that be right? That can't be right. And that's when we planted in Boulder. And we have been here ever since. And at that point, I was ready to be done doing all of those projects. We built one house and then we took a big break. And that's when I said, okay, I'm ready to do this for other people now. So that was 10 years ago. And it took me, I started trying to hire Andy after about 2 years, and then finally got it done about 5 years ago. And he and I run Burgess Group, and we are founding brokers for Compass. And it's been a really fun, rapid rise.
You know, the timing is impeccable for this particular episode of your podcast. I sat for hours on Friday with a real estate broker who's been doing this in the Denver market for eons. I don't want to call him out and make him sound like he's really old, but he would admit it. And he had finally caved on being wooed by Compass for a good period of time and loves it. Nothing but incredible things to say about the technology. Which was really, really impressive. And it looks like statistically, Compass is really kicking ass in this market. When we look
Oh,
at
yeah.
volume, when we look at number of transactions, I mean, they're like top 5, even up against some of these really big boys like Keller and Remax.
Yeah, actually, Compass has had dominant market share in Boulder and in Denver for about the past year. So it's amazing how, we're still, numbers wise, we're still smaller, but some of the most productive agents in each of those markets have come to Compass, and so it's an incredible spot. We definitely have experienced under promise, over deliver from Compass, and not
The exact words he used. I shit
is
you
that
not.
right?
Exact words he used.
Yeah, it's pretty compelling.
That's really cool. And just for our audience, because it's certainly nationwide, if not worldwide, I think you guys should understand that Denver and Boulder, while 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago was kind of considered a metropolitan area, these are very, very different towns now. We use different multi-list systems. That is correct, isn't it? They are on different systems. Yeah, and there's kind of this big invisible wall somewhere along the Boulder Turnpike that really separates Denver from Boulder. But these are two very, very different markets. So when Catherine is explaining to us that there are huge leaps, bounds, improvements, accolades in the business that Compass is doing in these two markets, know that they really are very, very separate and individual.
Right. And we launched both of these businesses in January of 2019. So if you can imagine gaining dominant market share in that amount of time, it's, they have to have something going on, right?
Yeah, very, very true. And I'm gathering it's a little different than what it looked like when you started in real estate.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we've had our business for 10 years, and our first year, I actually won Rookie of the Year. And then by year 3, we were in the top 25 for Boulder and Boulder County. And we're now in the top 10 by volume for both of those places. And it gets harder and harder to move up. But it's the market is tremendously so much of it is the same in that it all comes down to delivering super service that is, individuated for each client and feels really warm and, like you're holding that person. But from a broad perspective, agreed that it is such a different market. And gosh, luxury has gone bonkers. And even, I don't know, even in the last 2 months, it's a different market than it was 4 months ago. So much change. It's really, that's part of what is so interesting, I think, to work in real estate, is to keep up with the trends and figure out, like, how do we best serve our clients given the changing feel of the market.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And we do talk often about how it is a ridiculously dynamic industry, that in order to perform in it, you have to be dynamic yourself. You've got to be flexible, malleable. You've got to be willing to roll with the punches, accept change. And I think that the really great ones even have a little bit of foresight. They can kind of see what's coming and move and shuck and jive, adjust accordingly, so that they are able to take care of their clients as best as possible. When you started in the business 10 years ago, or is that what you said? Yeah, it had been 10 years. What did that look like? What did that rookie year entail to make you Rookie of the Year? What went on that year that was so impressive, or that our audience would take a liking to?
Well, I don't know how impressive it was, quite frankly, but I think part of what was really helpful was I had an organized, it's so much of the basics, Adam, it's just so basic. So, and it's still so basic, all of it, really. So we had an organized database. And we, within, a very short, well, one of the things I did right away that I think really served me well was, like, I don't know, 2 weeks after going and getting my license active, I did a ninja installation, which, if people listen to that, there's a lot of good. I think a lot of times when people start in real estate, they don't really know how to spend their time. And so the ninja stuff was sort of like, here's a recipe for how you can go forward and how to spend your time. And so that was helpful. Then I got my database organized like right after I went to Ninja. So I had a fairly robust, list of people, and actually putting it into a CRM, I think, is a step that a lot of people don't really do. And so, putting it in there and then sort of systematically starting the marketing for newsletters, postcards, all of the different firing on all cylinders, kind of social media, all of that stuff. So much easier once you know who you're marketing to and how you should be marketing. And so we figured out, I think, I got a brand together in a fairly short amount of time. So that first year was really, I broke even. I did some some business, but all of the money went back into the business for brand, for website, for marketing. I didn't make any money. And then by year 2, things started chugging along. And I think it's all about really consistency. So just, reaching
Yep.
out.
Jen, let's just hire Catherine. She can do the
Right.
podcasts from now on. Let's see. We cover a little bit about Ninja, and the reason that Ninja has been such a great resource all these years is because they talk about shit that works year after year after year.
Right.
Part of that feeds into your contact database, your contact management. And for those of you that did not hear what Catherine said, rewind and listen to it again. Yes, you've got to have your contact management database, your CRM, your audience organized, no matter what you want to do. And 10 years ago, yes, we were doing newsletters and, postcards and, snail mail type of stuff. In the modern era, maybe we're doing text campaigns or voicemail campaigns or social media campaigns. Either way, you have to have your audience organized. There is no escaping it. And I think the biggest piece that Jen and I just pound out there and put into our clients' heads on a regular basis is constancy and consistency. You cannot do something for a week and decide in your mind that didn't work and kind of shuffle along to the next thing that you're also going to let fail on you because you didn't commit. You didn't give it the time and respect that it deserves. So, yeah, I don't know. Of core values, at just the tips. Jen, what do you figure? Catherine hit half of them there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to go get back to work now.
funny.
You guys talk. Catherine, we'll sign you on as a coach here in the not too distant future. But yeah, no, you're hitting some really, really solid points. And I do think it's important, but God, you're right. How many real estate agents out there don't have a good modern semblance of their contact database, of their audience? I mean,
Right.
You can't do any marketing or prospecting without it. Any marketing or prospecting ideas, theories, techniques, tactics that you're going to start on are going to fail if you haven't accomplished that.
Right. So true. And, a lot of people, it feels super daunting to get that database sorted out. And I hired a virtual assistant. She was a gal in Michigan. There's so many ways you can do that. There are people abroad, but I think I had her working for me to help sort out that database for probably a month and a half. And it was probably, like, if you really think about it, that was probably the best money I ever spent on our business because it made it so that we could go forward with our marketing in a meaningful way.
I would say that's true. Good use of money there.
Yep. I mean, and that's when, I hadn't done any deals at that point. That's, when you don't have a lot of money and you've just got to figure it out. Either you've got to do it yourself or you've got to get some help doing it. And either way is fine, but it's got to be done.
Well, and I think it sounds more daunting than it actually is. Now, granted,
Right.
you found a really convenient way, and of course, VAs weren't all that big a deal 10 years ago. In fact, Jen,
Right.
when did you start your VA business?
3.5 years ago.
Okay. And at the time then, VAs were still stateside. Obviously, they were 10 years ago. Now we've gotten to a point where most of the virtual assistant world is overseas. It's pennies on the dollar for what you would pay for that kind of work locally. But I do think that if it's something that you feel you have to take on your own, organizing, putting together your contact database, your audience, then do it in little bites. Do it over the course of a year. Focus on everybody who has a birthday today. Get their contact information in your database. And you probably look at Facebook birthdays, LinkedIn birthdays. You probably have that information in your calendar anyway. So everybody's got a birthday today. Clean up that section of your contact database. And then tomorrow. And then it only takes you a year. Or do it once a week alphabetically. Do the A's, then the B's, then the C's. And again, now it's only going to take you 26 weeks. That's half a year. You know, these kinds of things. So I think it's important for everybody to understand that, yes, it sounds daunting. There are 1,000 ways to make it not daunting. And the value of it, the importance of it, I mean, I don't even know where to go. My contact database management tactics and techniques still generate a couple of deals a day for me. And it's invaluable. Awesome. I cannot put, and that's after 20 years.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, again, like Ninja, like Core, like a lot of these old and maybe considered even antiquated styles, methods, the things that work still work and have worked for decades. And that happens to be one of them. So your contact database, your contact management, I cannot stress the importance of that enough. So if you are that agent, if you are that loan originator, you have not taken those steps, please listen to what Catherine is saying. Hire a VA to do it. Call Jen. She'll walk you through how to do it. But for the love of everything, please get your database sorted. And I do also think it's important that everybody understand that building that contact database, adding to it, continuing to build up your audience is an all-day, everyday activity for the rest of your career. You've got to continue to do that. You've got to continue to know and focus on building relationships, on contact data mining, these kinds of things. And I'm not suggesting that we mine data where we pay a company to send us lists, because that's not what I'm getting at here. What I'm referring to is if you meet somebody, you like them, you want to add them to your audience, you've got to figure out how to capture that data. Facebook friends, great. Most of us put phone numbers and email addresses and birthdays on Facebook. You guys want to follow each other on Instagram? Same kind of thing. Whatever the case may be, you've got to have a modern day grip on that contact data mining and understand that building up that audience is an all day, everyday activity. And if you can continue to do that through the remainder of your career, it will be a successful one.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. So now we're talking about something that you've been exercising for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Let's flash forward a little bit. What does your, I don't want to say marketing because it's not the right term, but your prospecting, your lead gen, where do your clients come from now 10 years later? 10 years after rookie of the year.
Right. Okay. So we are definitely, we do sphere marketing primarily. So we are getting together with our sphere in a bunch of different ways. So prior to the pandemic, we had a goal of seeing 50 people a day, we being myself and Andy. So, and that would be, in a coffee shop where somebody works and there's a community that actually is built and people know each other. That would be going to exercise classes, bike rides, boards that we're on. So and in those times when we're contacting when we're actually talking with people, we try to actually have meaningful conversation, not just like passing chit chat. So asking about how's your family, what are your kids doing? How's your work? All of those things. What are you doing this summer? All that stuff is really, we're relationship people. We're all
It's
about community
relationship
building.
building.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we're all about community building, and so it's joyful to us to be asking those questions because we want to be in community with people. So during the pandemic, of course, that shifted a little bit, but we are getting back to like we used to host Sunday night dinner every Sunday night, and it was a whole bunch of kids at CU that would come over every week. And then when we realized we were doing this for the kids, we were like, well, whatever adults we run into during the week, let's invite them. So it was like 10 to 25 people a weekend, very low key food, nothing fancy, but it's so lovely to share that with people in your home. That's a really powerful thing that you can do. And, a potluck would be equally powerful. Whatever works for you to make it happen. So so we're getting back to that. We just organized this. We downsized and bought a little duplex on Walnut, which is the Boulder goes right by it. So we have organized this once a month. We're having Front Yard Fest, which is I have a band coming. We've got a lot of musicians in our friend group, and so we have someone coming for like an hour and a half once a month on Sunday afternoons, and then people can just like toddle down to Pearl Street for dinner. And but our first one, we realized the Boulder's going past us, so instead of Sunday night, we're having it on this coming Monday, Memorial Day.
Oh, it is a holiday weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, this band is going to be playing.
For the majority of our audience that doesn't know, that isn't local, that isn't native, the Boulder is one of the greatest competitive foot races in the country.
10K, right? It's really fun. It's thousands of people. So I just ordered 12 dozen donuts, and we're going to have mimosas, and we've just sent out an email to our sphere through our CRM saying, pop by for a bit for a donut and to listen to this band while you're, enjoying the Boulder. So things like that get you in front of your sphere. It doesn't even really matter if they come. Hopefully they will, but it's you showing up regularly in their email box with things of value, or in their mailbox with something that truly is of value to them. Like it's just being of value to them. And we don't even talk about real estate with our people when we're together. They bring it up, but we don't. And
it's a boring subject. They don't want you to talk about it, Catherine, or those of you listening. They want you to talk about you. They want to know who you are. They already know what you do.
Right. Yep. I mean, they often bring it up, but we are never the ones who bring it up. No. So
as it should be.
Yeah, absolutely, as it should be. Yes, you should be willing to answer questions and discuss it if it's brought to you. But they want to know who you are. All of you listening, people want to know who you are, not what you do.
Right.
I don't even know how to describe that any better than exactly that. But I do want, in the interest of full disclosure, I want to say, yes, if you pump me full of mimosas and offer me donuts, I'm going to run 10K.
In a costume.
How much of the 10K are you going to run?
Well, until I either drop dead or get to the donuts.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Fair enough. All right,
that's fair.
Jen, I know we're going to run over and we're just going to have to deal with it unless Catherine has to jet out for something. But Catherine, tell us about your project, your volunteer work. And I know that this is obviously intertwined, and it's an important piece. For those of you listening, you want to see an increase in your business, go serve on a board. Go do some volunteer work. But you've got one that's obviously really special to your heart. And we've been kind of watching you with it over the last year plus. So tell us about that program.
Right. So corporate social responsibility is really a big theme for us. And we try really hard. Like if you go to our website, we have a Good Karma page, and you'll see we actively support 14 different organizations, mostly 501c3s, but they vary a little bit. And last year, we've been trying to sell this wonderful 80-acre farm for a number of years. And it's so close to downtown Boulder, which gives it enormous value. It has tremendous water rights. 5163 Independence is the name. And it's a beautiful parcel. So during the pandemic, one of my friends was running this organization called Boundless Landscapes that teaches teenagers regenerative farming. And the way that they were doing it was this hub and spoke model where they had a bigger farm and then all these little micro farms in people's front or backyards. And during the pandemic, people were feeling uncomfortable with anyone coming to their house to farm. And so I said, well, let me check and see if we could get an acre or so of this farm for you to use, just as a donation from the owners. And the owners agreed to that. And that was a really cool thing for everybody. A lot of food was grown. It was a combination of teaching teenagers how to farm and donating back to the community, and they were selling to restaurants, and that was very cool. Then the second year, they realized that didn't work with their business model, and so we actually hired a farmer and partnered with Community Food Share they serve more people with food insecurity in Boulder and Broomfield counties than any other organization. So we partnered with them. Boundless Landscapes provided the tools, and then Earth's Table provided mentoring to this young farmer that we had. And we raised almost 3,000 pounds of produce that all went back to the constituents at Community Food Share. And the really cool thing is when you're receiving food from organizations, you can't really say, I'd like this, I'd like that, not the peanut butter and not the white bread. And
Right.
We were able to reach out and say, what would you like to see grown? Yeah. And cool. It wasn't the heaviest stuff that would create the coolest numbers for us, like melons and cucumbers that are all full of water and really easy to farm. They wanted greens and tomatillos and peppers and tomatoes and all this wonderful variety. And so it was really this very cool collaboration with the volunteers at Community Food Share, ourselves, and we were able to do that as a super out of the box marketing effort. So all of this information, we got a tremendous amount of visibility for the farm as a result of this collaboration that then created all this food for our community. So it was a win-win. This year, they are not the sellers there are actually renting the farm, so we were unable to do that this year. But people can do such awesome things if they're spending money on their business anyway. Like this year, instead of buying really fancy Christmas cookies or chocolate sauce for our people, I'm on the board at the Museum of Boulder, and we instead gave like 200 memberships to the Museum of Boulder, and then 100 or around 200 sets of tickets to the Museum of Boulder, because 501c3s have had such a hard time since the pandemic. So by casting that light on those organizations, we can help, create robust health with our nonprofit communities and the places where we live. And so we're actually about to, when we sent those out at the holidays, we also said, save the date, June 12th, we're going to host a party there. And so now that we've given everyone a way to enjoy it, now we're trying to get them in the door so that they will then start supporting that organization. So all with money that we would have spent anyway on our sphere. So we'll see. I think it should be good.
It
Very
sounds
cool.
like it. And yeah, there's such a crazy little connect the dots story going on here. I'm sorry, Jen, what does your business degree have an emphasis in?
Corporate social responsibility is my
Yes!
my MBA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
what I thought
Yeah.
your
Very
business degree had
cool.
an emphasis in.
Yeah.
This has been a
That's
really
awesome.
cool episode for
Yeah.
us. Yeah, to
Good.
hear what
Good.
you're up to. And gosh, it almost makes me want to spend more time in Boulder, eh?
Right.
Oh yeah. Come to Sunday night dinner. We're starting that up again. We would love
That's
to
so
host
cool.
you
That's a
guys.
very
It
cool
is
concept.
very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really neat stuff. And thinking about it from the perspective of the people, like just to know that, God, there's one meal this week I don't have to prepare.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not. It's obviously not fancy. And
Right,
we
not
do, we
fancy.
know all kinds of great, $10 a head catering type of stuff. We do a lot of Qdoba and a lot of Red Robin and those
Uh-huh.
kinds of
Mhm.
things. But yeah, this is fantastic stuff. Catherine,
Yeah.
thank you so
You're
much.
so
This is-
welcome.
I
It
can't
was
believe
really
how
fun
fast
to be
this
with you.
30 minutes went.
For sure.
Great.
Yeah,
Well,
Jen, what am I
thanks again.
missing?
I need to know where in Maine Catherine lived. That's
Okay.
important
Oh
for me.
yeah, we were in Freeport for 3 years.
I lived in
Andy-
Freeport until I was 6 years old. I was born
You
in
did?
Portland, and
Oh.
my parents are 2 towns over from Freeport.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Little small worldy this morning, for sure.
yeah.
Very cool.
Our oldest daughter was born in Portland, and we loved living there. It was such a rich life. It was.
Yeah.
Andy was working for LL Bean there. So
Of course.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's like someone in the family has to work for LL Bean at some point if you live in Maine.
Exactly.
Right?
It's kind of
Right.
a rule. So my mom worked in the corporate offices and in the big store for years. So
Got it.
very cool.
Cool.
Very.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, at some point, I'll want to hear where you moved to, and Adam, I'll want to hear your background as well.
Oh,
So,
it's
let's
yeah.
figure that out.
We're going to need a few more episodes. Jen, why don't you organize that? Let's get Catherine back on the show when we have an opening. And yeah, Catherine's still kind of booked out in the same time frame that you're accustomed to. Where are you at, Jen? June, July of 23?
Oh, I'm at the end of August of 23. We're about to be
Oh, my
September of
goodness.
23.
September of 23. We're going to look
Yeah.
forward to that. We better connect
Such
with
a cool
Catherine
show.
in between. We'll come
Yeah.
to Sunday dinner.
Right.
But yeah, Jen, why
Awesome.
don't you take us home?
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. We will be off next week for Memorial Day. First week off from the show in a while. But if you want to find out more about us, text tips to 63566. You can get a copy of Adam's book, Just the Tips there. You can get all the recent episodes of the show, our weekly little tip. We are just over a month away from Social Media Day Denver. So you can get your tickets for Social Media Day Denver by texting tips to 63566. That is Thursday, June 30th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Full day of social media content. Big shout out to Metro State University for partnering with us on that. The event will be on campus again this year. We've got lunch covered. It's going to be a good day. So text tips
Cool.
to 63566 to grab your ticket for that and for all things Just the Tips.
Cool. Well, Catherine, thank you.
Awesome.
I know carving
All
out
right.
this kind of time on a Monday morning isn't easy. And
It
we
was a
battled
treat.
a few tech issues at the beginning there, but that's how live video plays. And Jen will probably fill you in on how we convert this to the podcast and get you all the goodies. So for those of you watching or listening live or in syndication, thanks for tuning in again. You can typically catch us, barring next week, live Monday mornings, 10:30 Mountain Time for another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Appreciate it. Take care.